You hear those horns, you know what time it is. It's time to play some toss. I want to welcome you and everybody to episode 30. That's right, 30, episode 30 of the Tristain on Sports Show Toss. It is your main man, T-Squared, Tristain Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us. I am so glad you're here. And today, if you can't tell, I am just a little bit fired up. Some things have got me just a little bit pissed off. Some things have got me optimistic. I'm a little bit on both sides of the fence today. So why don't we jump right into State of the State and talk Green Bay Packers football? If you want to talk about a team that showed two sides to themselves, and this past Sunday's win, 30-27 versus the Chicago Bears, it's the Green Bay Packers. It's the Green Bay Packers. And I think a lot of you know exactly where I'm going with this because you saw the game. You saw how dominant they looked at times. And then you saw a complete reversion, a complete regression, a complete revisitation, if that's even a word, to that 4-6 type defense. Now, before we get to the defense, we have to talk the offense. And the offense started off a great first drive. First drive was great. Took the lead 7-0. The running game showed up. The running game showed up. You thought it was going to be a game in which Aaron Rodgers would slice and dice his squad. Not really. Not really. He had 252 passing yards. Didn't turn the ball over. Didn't pass for a touchdown. But he kept things moving. He kept the chains moving. The running game was the main weapon in this game, which is something that has been missing. And if you remember last week on Toss, I said, hey, the running game has to be, they're starting to find a little bit of a running game. They have to find somewhat of a consistent running game. It doesn't have to be overly dominant. It just has to be good enough so they have to honor that, and it's going to make life easier for Aaron Rodgers. And you saw that this past Sunday. Ty Montgomery, as if he needed another coming out party. But he's been kind of missing for weeks. After he had that mid-season splash on the league where he was, I won't say he was unstoppable, but I mean, man, he was doing some of everything. He showed up in that running game this week. 16 carries, 162 yards, 2 touchdowns, broke some long runs in this game. He's a running back that wears number 88, but he ain't no 88. The only reason why he's got that number is because you are not allowed to switch numbers mid-season in the NFL. The guy's a running back. Mike McCarthy said it best in his press conference day after the game. Once Ty Montgomery gets to that second level, you see his natural instincts as a runner. And we saw that on Sunday. We saw some very natural instincts. He was able to break tackles, got a lot of yardage after contact, a lot of it. He finished runs. I think this is the most pleased, and that's no knock on Eddie Lacy. I love Eddie Lacy. Anybody who knows me know I love Eddie Lacy. If you listen to Toss, which all of you do, and I thank you for that worldwide, you know how much I love and appreciate Eddie Lacy. But Ty Montgomery is the running back that has ran the best out of all the Packers running backs this season. This is no longer a commodity thing. This is no longer hey, he can both run and receive. He's one of those Percy Harvin type weapons. He's one of those when Randall Cobb first got to the Green Bay Packer type weapons. The guy's a flat out running back. And he showed that on Sunday. Another guy who I said would be a factor once he got acclimated to the playbook, Tristain Michael. And I took a lot of flack for that. I had people questioning, hey, Seattle's not going to let go of a guy for no reason. Seattle has Thomas Rawls and CJ Prosise behind him. They were more happy with that. They only kept Tristain Michael out of necessity. They no longer needed him. They had their 2 running backs that they felt very comfortable with going into the future, and they released him. He's a good back. I believe at this point, he's still Seattle's leading rusher this season. But I digress, because he showed exactly what I've been seeing on film. He's shown exactly what I always felt about him, watching him even from afar. He is a very good back, and once he got acclimated to this playbook, he would be a factor. 4 carries, 45 yards, and a touchdown for him, his best game as a Packer. That run he had, that touchdown run he had, silenced everybody up. Just shut everybody up about that. Everybody who had a doubt about him, they no more. They got the clamps put on their lips so they can't bump their gums anymore. He's a good back. Ty Montgomery has shown you that he has natural instincts in that second level once he gets past the defensive line to make the moves necessary to finish runs and to be a very good running back. This running game is getting consistent, and it's getting consistent at the perfect time. It's getting colder. It's getting late in the season. You need to be able to do two things when you get late in the season and into the playoffs. If you get that far, you need to be able to run the football and you have to be able to play defense. Those are two things you must absolutely positively do in the NFL late in the season going into the playoffs. And the Packers are starting to do that on both sides of the ball. This running game has to have people very excited. Again, they're not going to go out there and get 200 plus yards rushing every single week. I don't think they're that consistent. But last week, again, I said they had pretty solid run game. I mean, it was 30 carries, 93 yards. They had the attempts. Mike McCarthy stuck with the run. You get the attempts. You have to keep that defense honest, and it's going to make things easier for Aaron Rodgers, who's really playing on two bad legs. He's got a calf injury on one. He's got a hamstring on another one. And they had to deal with pressure on him all game long, and I'm talking the Packers offensive line. Vic Fangio, who was the 49ers defensive coordinator, knows, and he is now the Chicago Bears defensive coordinator, knows Aaron Rodgers and his Packers squad very well. All those playoff battles that they had when he was with the 49ers against the Packers, he knows Aaron Rodgers very well. So he knows how to attack an Aaron Rodgers-led offense. Add to the fact that Aaron Rodgers is hurt, can't escape the rush. He was going to send the dogs more times than not, and that's exactly what happened. And I think that's a blueprint that teams are going to follow moving forward as long as Rodgers is hobbled. I don't think he's going to completely heal before their season is done. But yet the offense did what they had to do. I mean, it came down to a 60-plus yard bomb. Aaron Rodgers to Jordy Nelson, who had a hell of a game himself, 7 catches, 124 yards. Again, Rodgers didn't throw for any touchdowns. It means no receiver has any touchdowns on their line. Jared Cook had a very solid day. I think he had six catches for 85 yards. Very solid day. Moved chains, came up with some clutch catches. But it came down to a 60-plus yard bomb yet again late in the game for Aaron Rodgers and this Green Bay Packers team to set up Mason Crosby for what was essentially an extra point field goal kick to win the game in regulation. Now, at this point, you'll take the wins as you want, any way you can get them. I'm not going to sit here and complain that they won the game. I'm not going to hate on that. You take them how you can get them. Aaron Rodgers sat back and said this thing 5 weeks ago, hey, we're going to run the table. At that point in time, they had 6 games remaining. They've won 4 straight. They've got 2 more. They currently sit as the 6th seed in the NFC right now, currently. Slightly over Tampa Bay because Green Bay Packers' record, their opponent's records is better than Tampa Bay's by a game. So you don't feel comfortable sitting at that 6th spot. There's no time to rest on your laurels. You need to win. You still need to go out there and win out. Your best bet is to go and win this division. Do not put destiny in somebody else's hands. And this win did just that. It put the destiny in the Packers' hands, their own hands. Whatever kind of season you want to have, it's up to you. You need to go out there and execute on both sides of the ball, actually in all 3 phases, offense, defense, and special teams. Execute in all 3 phases of the game. Win your battle in front of you, each and every single down, and you'll write your ticket to a division title, a home playoff game, and a playoff appearance again, which will be the 8th straight. It's no question that the offense had their struggles in this game. Look, Chicago's defense, their record may not be great. And I said this last week right here on Toss. Don't be fooled by the Bears' record. They're playing some really tough football. They just had some very unlucky breaks. You see Matt Barkley will go out there and have over a 300-yard pass a day on his defense, which I'm going to get to those guys in a minute. Jordan Howard, the rookie running back for the Bears, had a very good day. Alshon Jeffrey came awake in the second half of that game, inexplicably by this Packers defense, but again, I'll get to them in a minute. This team played tough, very tough. Can't be fooled by guys' records. They have an underrated defense over there, and they made life tough for the Green Bay Packers. They really did. I think it would have been tough if Aaron was healthy or not. It was going to be tough because those guys played better than their record shows. But as Bill Parcells once famously said, you are what your record says you are. They're 3-10, but that doesn't change the fact that they still play teams very tough, and they made life difficult on the offensive end for the Green Bay Packers after they went up 17. They were up 27-10, and inexplicably the Packers gave up that lead. More specifically, the defense gave up that lead. It's like they made a complete reversion back to that 4-6 kind of defense. That kind of defense that was getting burned. That kind of defense that inexplicably left the team's best receiver wide open, outside, middle of the field. The same kind of defense and the same kind of secondary that didn't go up and fight for the football. We saw that defense show up, but we also saw the defense of the past 3 weeks that was shutting teams down, allowing them only 13 points a game. Clinton Dix, who I tweeted out at the20double on Twitter, my Twitter handle. Very quietly, he's playing some of the best safety in football. And you know what? I actually had people disagree with me on that one. And that's fine. You could disagree with me, but those people don't really dig into the game. I really dig into it. I really go back and look at things. Maybe there's something I missed. Why did this happen? Why did that play happen? So I could come out and give the best version of toss for all of you that I can possibly do, because that's what you deserve. So I'll go back and I'll watch these things. And the one concept I've seen is he plays excellent safety. He's going to go and tackle. He can give you the big hits. He makes his presence known in that backfield. So when people hear footsteps, he calls drops just merely being in the vicinity. I tell everybody, and I will say it till I'm purple in the face, go check the tape. Well, this Sunday, he had 2 interceptions, which gives him 5 on the year, which is a career high for him. Then he was named NFC Defensive Player of the Week, and he made the Pro Bowl. Congratulations to him, along with Aaron Rodgers. I believe there's someone else. I don't know if it was TJ Lang or somebody else, but somebody else also made it as well. So congrats to all those guys. I hope none of them play, because that would mean that the Green Bay Packers are in the Super Bowl, but I digress. His play has been very quietly good, but it was made loud by those turnovers. So you had some really good. Micah Hyde came up with an interception. So you had good coverage there. You had a good rush. Julius Peppers setting the tone in the second half with that strip sack fumble and recovery. So you had traces of that last 3-week defense. And then you turn around and you have the traces of the 4-6 defense that would get burned every single snap, play like hot garbage on a summer day, showed up and blew a 17-point lead, left Alshon Jeffrey open, it just inexplicably just left this guy open, left a no-name receiver open and let him get 110 yards receiving on him. I don't even remember the guy's name because I had never heard of him before until this game. I believe that the John Lynch and the other guy, whoever else was commentating, because this was not a normal commentating team that you're used to when you talk about the Packers. But since you're playing the Bears, well, you guys get like the D team. No offense. But I think they were saying he had 10 catches all year. You let him get 8 for 110 yards. Come on, man. I mean, I get it. Let somebody else beat you, but come on, man. I mean, they literally almost beat you. You literally let a scrub off the bench almost beat you. And look, I shouldn't be talking about NFL players that way because they made the NFL. There's less than 1,000 guys that are playing in the NFL. So these are supposed to be the elite of the elite, but let's be real. I don't care what professional sport it is. Sometimes guys are just up there because you need bodies. This dude was a scrub, and he almost killed you. He was killing you all day, but he almost killed your chances of a division title, a playoff berth. He pretty much almost wrecked your season. That type of defense ain't going to fly. That type of defense is not going to fly, and I hope it serves as a wake-up call to these guys because you almost lost it to a 3-10 team. You almost let a 3-10 team ruin your season. Ruin your predictions and your hopes of going and running the table over your last 6 games and quite possibly coming down to that last regular season game against the Lions next week at Ford Field in Detroit. Winner goes on, loser goes home. You almost let him ruin every single goal you had left for the season because you decided to let your foot off the necks of a team that was 3-10 at the time, and you had a 17-point lead on going into the fourth quarter. Come on, man. Come on, man. You got to be better than that. You got to have better recognition than that. You got to have more fire than that. You got to have more passion than that. You need to play way better than that if you have any kind of aspirations of going to do anything other than just showing up in the playoffs. You have an extremely tough game this Saturday, Christmas Eve, final regular season game at Lambeau Field against the Minnesota Vikings, who are still very much a part of the hunt for the NFC North in the playoff spot. They already beat you once earlier this season. Ruined my good time in Las Vegas in doing so. And your main man will be at Lambeau Field to see this game up close and personal, to get the real of what's going on, so I can report it back to you on Toss next week. I'm going to see this up close and personal. They have every intention of ruining your season on your field, taking your candy, taking your lunch money, laughing about it. You cannot have lapses to that 4-6 team. Offensively, defensively, special teams, all of you need to execute. That's what it comes down to. Shut these guys down. I don't give a damn that Adrian Peterson is back. They handle Adrian Peterson. They've done historically very well against Adrian Peterson. But the thing is, this offensive line is a turnstile. They can't create any type of holes for any running backs to get through, but they create a whole bunch of holes for defenders to get through, so you need to take advantage of that. They really have nobody to throw the ball to. Stephon Diggs is in and out of the lineup with injuries. Adam Thielen, yeah, he could do some things here and there. Kyle Rudolph can do some things here and there. I had somebody mention to me Cordero Patterson. Come on, man. Stop it. When has he ever been a consistent factor? He has a few splash plays here and there. He teases you. That's about it. Regardless of that, this is a team that still beat you. Protect home field. Protect your hopes and aspirations of winning an NFC North championship. Getting a playoff spot. Possibly a home playoff game. Everything is right there for you to take. But it's going to get took from you if you go back to that 4-6 style of play. It's time to knuckle up and get real. Packers, Vikings, Lambeau Field, this Saturday, noon. Your main man will be there to see it up close and personal. Time to go and get that W. Let's hop on the T-Squared Express and make our way down to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, continuing on the toss sweep and talk Milwaukee Bucks basketball. What do we make of the Milwaukee Bucks this season? I think the expectations were a little less tempered this year, especially after Chris Middleton's injury, the torn hamstring completely off the bone. I think everybody learned to kind of temper their expectations, especially after that injury, especially after the season that they had last season. But yet, I don't think everybody's kind of tempered their expectations enough. But we'll get into that a little bit later. It's kind of a tale of two teams with the Milwaukee Bucks. You have the good Milwaukee Bucks, who go and dominated the Chicago Bulls in back-to-back nights. Home and home series. I mean, they flat out, I'm not exaggerating when I say this, they flat out dominated those guys. Almost coughed up that second game, kind of let those guys get back into it, but in the end, they stretched it back out, stretched the lead back out, took it home very easily. And then you face the world champions again, the same world champions that you beat down by 18 points a couple of weeks ago. You knew they were going to come back, heated, pissed off, take things personally. Hey, even Kyrie Irving said as much in a quote. He said he hopes that the Bucks and the Cavs play each other in a first round playoff series because it's personal now. He gets up for those guys now. It's competition now. Goes to show you how much the culture is starting to change and how people around the league, players, coaches alike, are starting to respect the Milwaukee Bucks. So the things are trending upward. That first game was a winnable game against the Cavaliers. It was a very winnable game, but the small things killed you. Jabari missing free throws. No rotations on the three-point line. We know this is a three-point shooting team. You let LeBron James wide open for a three on an out-of-bound play. Jabari goes underneath the screen. He should have overplayed it. Boom, he hits the three. Giannis with the dumb foul on a rebound, pretty much hugging LeBron James. There was no need for that. It's the little things that kill you. So you kind of leave with a sour taste in your mouth, but you know what? You win the overtime. you still gave the Cavs the best punch. And I will say this till I'm purple in the face. They have played the Cavs the toughest I've seen them all season, of any team, all season. They really have. I'm not just saying that because they're the Milwaukee Bucks and I love them. I'm saying that because you look at it from a basketball standpoint. You look at all the games that the Cavs have played. And if you watch them, which I've watched a good handful, the Bucks have played them the toughest. The Bucks have absolutely played them the toughest. Then you go to Cleveland the next night. You just played overtime the night before. You had to travel to Ohio. You got to get up for the world champions yet again. And you just absolutely get dog walked, which you knew would eventually happen. I mean, you're playing the world champions. They got the best player in the world. They've got one of the best point guards in the league. They're the champs. First in the East currently. And so it's really a tale of two teams when you talk the Milwaukee Bucks. What are the Milwaukee Bucks? Is this what they are? Are they just a 500 team? Missing Chris Middleton, who there's lots of reports flying around that he'll be back in March. I know I'm on the record of saying, hey, just keep him out for the season. Let him heal completely. I've only known of 2 other cases where the hamstring has been torn completely off the bone, and they weren't even in basketball. They were in football and professional wrestling, and both of those guys missed close to a year with that injury. Close to a year. If Middleton comes back, you're talking 6 months. And I know some guys heal differently. But not every guy's an Adrian Peterson. But then again, there are some guys out there like that. Is Chris Middleton a guy like that? Does he heal a lot faster than we know? I don't know. We're not in the training room with him. We're not his doctor. But if he is 100% and he can go and you think he can help you and then you're in the midst of a playoff push and you think he can help do some damage, then you kind of put your faith in the squad. But I'm just advocating that, hey, let him get all the way healthy. I'm not sure that 6 months is enough time for this injury to heal and for him to rehab it and to get back into basketball shape and do all the things that he needs to do to be that top flight player that we know him to be. But is this what the Bucs squad is? Are they just a 500 team this season? Are they going to win 4, then lose 4? Are they going to win 2 and then lose 2? That's the way it's gone. I mean, they're 13 and 14. They sit at 9th place in the Eastern Conference. So they went from as high as the 5 seed just last week after those dominating wins versus the Bulls down to 9th place. And it's going to be a fight towards the bottom of that Eastern Conference. I don't know that anyone in the Eastern Conference towards the bottom, I'm talking 6, 7, and 8, is going to be that much over 500. There may even be a couple of teams underneath 500. Historically, that's what the Eastern Conference has been. But is this what the Bucs are this season? Are they just 500? Were we all spoiled by that 41-41 season in Jason Kidd's first year? Perhaps. Do we tend to lose patience with this team? Yeah. I think a lot of us do. I know I've lost patience with them a few times. But then I sit down and I think we're not even all the way healthy, which is a huge part of a basketball team. We're not even all the way healthy. Jason Kidd is really in his 4th season as a head coach in the NBA. I mean, just think about it. 4 seasons ago, just 4 seasons ago, he was still playing. 4 or 5 seasons ago, he was still playing in the NBA. Not that far. Most guys come up through the ranks before they become a head coach. He's still learning how to be one. He has all this vast knowledge of the game, and I will never, ever discount his knowledge of the game. He's going to be a Hall of Fame point guard. But his player's mind and his coaching mind, those are 2 different things. It's a completely different thing from running a team on the court and running a team off the court. Because you can't jump into uniform and go and help those guys on the court. You have to be more of a teacher. You can't be a doer. And I think that's the hardest part for a player transitioning into a coaching role, especially fresh off of a team and you go and you win a head coaching spot or receive a head coaching spot and you're fresh off of being a player. You're still in the player mindset. I think we just have to give the Milwaukee Bucks time. They have to be healthy. They're still fiddling around with this roster. Jason Kidd is still learning how to be a head coach. And as much as I get frustrated with some of his rotations, you're starting to see tangible results. You're starting to see what he's teaching started to sink in a little bit. And even though they revert to some young, stupid moves, overall, you have to be pleased with the development of these guys and the development of their mindset and how they go out there and they compete. And the fact that they don't want to just be good, they want to be great. So for all of the problems that they may have, and they're all coachable, they're all workable, they're all fixable. Folks everywhere have to give this team more time, more patience. You have to understand that there has to be more health. It's a big picture view. Bucks are tied to this guy for additional years. They feel he is the right guy. I can't wait to see what this team is going to be when Chris Middleton gets back. You have these guys healthy for a full season. What type of hell they're going to wreak on the NBA. They're going to give everybody fits. If they gave the world champions fits, they're going to give everybody fits. When they start getting consistent, start beating the teams that they're supposed to, like Washington that they should beat on Friday, who's really going to stand a chance? They're not going to be an easy out. They're going to be every bit of tough. But we have to give these guys patience. We have to give these guys the patience in order to be able to become that. They are young. And I hate when people use that as an excuse when they're losing and they're doing things that they know good and damn well that they shouldn't be doing. But when you see results, when you start to see those lessons sink in, you have to realize, they are young, but they are learning. They are actually learning. They are actually growing. This team has a chance to be special for many years, not just one. And that's the view that people have to take. Need patience. And this team needs a real hot streak. I'm talking they need to go on a 6, 7, 8 game winning streak and don't come back and lose 3 and 4 and 5 games. Just go on a hot streak. You're going to lose in the NBA. I mean, nobody's going to go 82-0. So, I mean, if you're going to go and win 8, lose 1, maybe 2, then get back on a big winning streak. It's all a part of becoming consistent. It's all a part of becoming that team. And they're going to get there. But people need to stop being so spoiled. People have to have patience. And I know that's a tough thing to do, especially in sports. You want to be instantly gratified. But this is a long-term view that the Bucks are taking. And it's something that's needed for this franchise. So for as hard as it is for everyone, say it with me. Patience. That's the key. Coming up on Toss, we're going to run the toss sweep. And I've got some issues with some people. We're talking NCAA football and we're talking NFL. What specifically about the NFL? If you listened to last week's Toss, you kind of know what I'm talking about. But if you didn't, get ready for it. All that coming up next. Home Court Sports is your spot for sports, music, and life. So join Professor P, Lamont, and yours truly Wednesdays, 7 to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time only on blogtalkradio.com. That's Home Court Sports Show. Welcome back to Toss, everybody. It's your main man, T-Squared Tristan Thomas. And it's time for us to run the toss sweep. Let's get to the NCAA. Man, there's so many different directions I could go to, and I'm talking specifically NCAA football. By now, you guys have heard that Leonard Fournette of LSU and Christian McCaffery of Stanford have decided not to play in their bowl games. I believe LSU is playing in the Buffalo Wild Wings Citrus Bowl, and Stanford is playing in the Hyundai Sun Bowl. No, these are not New Year's Six bowls. No, these games are not a part of the national championship playoff. They're really cash grabs for sponsors. It's a game that they were invited to. The school had the ability to deny that. The team had the ability to deny that invitation and not play this game. But instead, they decided to play because it's money in their pocket. It's money in the school's pocket. It's money in the sponsors' pockets. As you hear my my dog running around in the background. Yep, there he goes. That's Simon. He's here for every single episode. You guys know him and love him. But those games, those bowl games are not of major importance. Now, I say that kind of loosely because it means different things to different people. For some guys, they mean a last run with your fellas. Some of these guys on this team, they may be seniors. They're not pro prospects. They're not going to play another real competitive game in their lifetime. Some of them are there to play football so they could get tuition to earn their degree. And it's those people of that mindset that have a problem with Leonard Fournette and Christian McCaffery skipping out on this game to focus on their career, their NFL careers. At running back, I thought the whole purpose for going to college was so you get prepared for a career. I thought that, I mean, isn't that the reason why they make you declare a major? Don't you declare a major with a career in mind? So if these guys are playing football, that's pretty much them declaring their major. And when they have the opportunity to go to the NFL, which these two guys are commodities, these two guys are going to be first round picks. These two guys are running backs. And what do people say? I'm talking GMs and talking heads on television and podcasts like this one always say about a running back. The shelf life of a running back is 30 years old. GMs are going to sit there and look at a running back's health history up and down with a fine-tooth comb and a microscope. Oh, man, you've had a lot of leg injuries. Oh, man, you've had a lot of back injuries. I mean, are you sure you can hold up taking 20 carries a game? Oh, man, you've had a lot of carries in college, man. That's a lot of how much tread you got left on your tire. There is such a short window to play in the NFL and to play at a high level. And to be paid at a high level. These schools ain't paying these guys to go out there and put the punishment on their bodies. And it's those people of that mindset that, oh, well, they give them tuition and room and board, and that's sufficient enough. It's not. It's great if a guy actually wants that degree. But if a guy doesn't want that degree and he decides to go and get himself prepared for his career, which is what college is supposed to be for, you get pissed off about it? And then you try to bring up, well, the team has got to be absolutely incensed. They went to their teams. They spoke with everybody on their teams. And the teams gave them their blessing. Look, we understand. We completely understand it. If the teams don't have a problem with it, I'm not going to have a problem with it. And I'm definitely not going to have a problem with it as long as the NCAA is not giving these guys stipends. As I said before. Room and board and tuition is fine if the guy actually wants the degree. But what people fail to realize is the human aspect of this. They just look at it from a pure athletic standpoint. Now, Christian McCaffrey is probably going to be excluded for this because we all know his father, McCaffery, played for a very long time in NFL, mostly with the Denver Broncos. Made a lot of money so he could take care of his family. Maybe Christian McCaffery wants to do the same thing. Maybe Leonard Fournette wants to do the same thing. We've all heard about the story of Leonard Fournette. We know about where he comes from. People don't realize that a majority of these guys playing college football and basketball, college sports in general, come from some of the worst areas in America. And their families are still there. And room and board and tuition ain't taking care of them. Room and board and tuition ain't getting them up out of that situation. Room and board and tuition ain't helping them from catching a stray bullet from somewhere. The only way they're going to be able to get them out of that situation is to make the millions of dollars that the next level is going to give them. And the only way they're going to be able to play at that next level is if they're healthy. Because if they're not, you're going to end up just like Marcus Lattimore, the former South Carolina running back who probably should have left for the draft a year prior. Came back, devastating knee injury. Never played it down for the San Francisco 49ers. And he was supposed to be their next franchise back. He had an insurance policy that ended up taking out on himself, which is a smart move on him because he was actually able to do that because he was in the pros. But if these guys go out there and take a devastating hit and their draft stock plummets, that's going to hamper their ability to take care of their family. And how dare those people out there that are criticizing them and crucifying them, how dare they hamper their ability to go out there and take care of their family? How dare you sit there and spit on their goal to be able to take care of their family as if running in the Sun Bowl or running in the Buffalo Wild Wings Citrus Bowl is going to take care of their family? Why don't you think about the human aspect more so than the athletic aspect to understand that these guys have a lot more on their shoulders than any of you know? Should be damned ashamed of yourselves. Continuing on the toss sweep, Richard Sherman, excuse me. We alluded to this last week on toss, and I said I would talk about it, and here we are. Richard Sherman had some very interesting comments about Thursday Night Football. Now, if you go back and you listen to Toss, which you could do on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, we're all over the place, Libsyn, you'll know that I'm not a big fan of the Thursday Night Football games. Neither is Richard Sherman, and neither are a lot of players. Richard Sherman called it an absolute poop fest, and I couldn't agree with him more. It is an absolute poop fest. The games are awful. I mean, you have a team that's playing on a Sunday night, sometimes even on a Sunday, and sometimes playing on Sunday night. Far less recovery time, virtually no recovery time. You can't get in enough practices. You can't really install a full game plan, and you churn out that crap on Thursday nights. There have been so many awful games on Wednesday. It's easier to count the good games on Thursday night, which I could do on one hand, than the amount of bad games. I mean, they're just far too many. More times than not, it's just going to be awful. It's going to be awful. And it has nothing to do with the matchups they put on Thursdays, even though that doesn't help much. You have two great teams go at it, and they're going to turn up there. It's going to be a poop fest. Some of the worst footballs played on Thursday nights because these guys don't have enough recovery time. I'm a strong advocate of just leaving Thursday games on Thanksgiving. That's it. Yeah, these guys get 10 days between games, sometimes 11 if the team ends up playing on Monday Night Football before they play their next game. But that doesn't help that game. You're asking these guys to go out here and perform at the highest of high levels. You're in the NFL. You're supposed to be the elite of the elite. And you're asking these guys to go out there and play at an elite level 4 days after being in what is equivalent to a car crash over and over and over again. It's essentially what a football game is. You can't do that. You're shortening guys' careers. You're heightening the risk for injury, and you're diluting the product. I think one of the most special things about the NFL is the fact that there isn't a lot of it. It's a 16-game season, which I hope and pray they keep it at 16. We don't need 18. Don't need 18. Keep it at 16. That's perfect. And over the course of those 16 games, you only get games on Sunday, Monday. Late in the season, they do the Saturday games. Okay, fine. It's not every week. You get the late Saturday games. Okay, fine. I could deal with that. But now you're putting it on Thursday. I mean, you're making people get fatigued, and you're trying to bring in more fans, and then they look at the Thursday game, and it's like, really? This is the NFL? This is what everybody's raving about? It's not a good representation of the product. Why would you ever put something out there like that was less than your best? It's not a byproduct of teams playing each other tough. It's a byproduct of these guys not having enough time to recover from a multi-car crash on Sunday. It's nothing more than a cash grab. The networks don't make it any better because they're buying the rights to it. You're talking CBS, NBC. They're not making it any better because they're shelling out billions of dollars for these games. More money in the pockets of the owners of the NFL to add to their already billions of dollars. But yet you turn around and say you're making all these safety rules changes in the interest of safety of the players. How is playing 4 days after you played already safe? I don't get it. I mean, it only works if it helps you garner money, generate cash, but you're not really doing it in the interest of player safety. So Richard Sherman is right on the money. It's an absolute poop fest. They need to do away with these Thursday games, and I wouldn't miss them one damn bit, to be quite honest with you. You have the Thursday, the Thanksgiving days, games, and those are fine. Family's over. Most people are in a tryptophan coma, but you got your family over. Or those of you who really love football got to sit there and watch it over dessert or while the meal is being prepared. Brings people together. I know my family, we always watch the football games together. We always watch the basketball games together. We always watch the boxing matches together. Sports brings people together. But when people grow fatigued of the product and then you put something out there that's less than your best, you're going to have a backlash on your hands sooner rather than later. And the players are already backlashing. The fans are next. The NFL needs to be very careful with their cash grabs. But what do I know? I'm just a fan. This is Toss. All right, y'all, it's time for me to get on up out of here. This was episode 30 of the Tristain on Sports Show Toss. Thank you guys for supporting. I see you. I'm getting your emails and your DMs. And like I said, we're just going to continue to grow this thing. But I thank all of you worldwide for your support. Hey, somebody asked me to shout out Ireland. What up, Ireland? I see y'all. I see y'all over there. Hey, you know the Facebook page. Facebook.com/TON Sports Show. That's TON Sports Show. We do a lot of stories on there that we do not get a chance to cover here. So go to Facebook.com/TON Sports Show. That's TON Sports Show. You know the Twitter handle. I said it earlier and I'm going to say it again. At the20double. That's at the20double. Tweet live games, debates, controversy, whatever you need. Probably get it on that spot. So at the20double on Twitter. And you know we're on iTunes. You know we're on Stitcher. You know we're on YouTube. You know we're on Libsyn. So there's no reason for you not to be making some time to play some toss. But as I said before, it's time for me to get on up out of here. This is T Squared reminding all of you that dreams don't catch themselves. Get up, get out, and get after it. Until next week, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and so long from Toss.